By the end of this video, it's guaranteed that you're going to have the tools and knowledge and the understanding of what exactly is keeping you trapped and stuck in low vibration. So we are all operating from certain frequencies. We are all beings of energy and vibration. And what this means is we are operating from a level of consciousness that we are vibrating off. We're giving off a frequency, either a positive frequency or a negative frequency, or somewhere in between. And in this 3D reality matrix, it's often a low vibrational state of consciousness. And so we get ourselves trapped in these lower vibrational states of being because we are indoctrinated from the 3D matrix itself. A lot of the time, it's actually not our fault that we have been programmed with this, but what we can do now is take the radical responsibility to get ourselves from this lower state of consciousness and raise our vibration to a place of one that's more of love, joy, peace, and collaboration instead of gossiping and fighting and war. Which this actually leads me on to my first thing that is actually keeping you trapped in a low frequency, and that is the 3D reality matrix that we have been indoctrinated with and our brains have been programmed with, and how much fear gets instilled into our nervous system, how we are constantly stressed out 24/7. So there have been systems that have been put in place on purpose to keep humanity in low states of consciousness and enslaved into their own minds and enslaved in this system. And this is the 9-to-5 system, the education system. And the 9-to-5 system either keeps us hyper aroused or hyper aroused in a constant state of stress and anxiety, because we know we have to get up in the morning, work all day till 5 o'clock in the evening with hardly any breaks, not being able to exercise, and doing a job that we actually hate. And what this is doing is keeping us trapped and stuck in a low vibration. And it's not until we are fully aware and wake up and see what the systems are actually doing to our minds, to our nervous systems, because it keeps us in a state of flight, or freeze when we are constantly stressed out and in a state of anxiety because of the working system. And it's designed for us to just survive rather than survive. So when we are in survival mode, we can't logically use our brains and think of solutions, because our brain is just in survival mode, and we're in survival mode because of the fear-based information and news that is constantly spread, and the stress we induce from the 9-to-5 system, and the constant fear-mongering surrounding money, the economics, and it keeps us in a negative mindset about the world. So we are trapped in that without realizing it. Key here really is to stop watching the news or reduce the amount of news you are watching, and find ways to actually think for yourself and create your own system of abundance, create your own system of food, so then we're not relying on corporations and governments to help us survive, and we can rely on ourselves and communities to survive and thrive. So the second thing that is actually keeping you trapped in low vibration is you are playing the victim role. Victim mentality serves nobody, and it's the part of your ego that is holding on to some kind of experience that you went through. Maybe as a child, as an adult, some kind of traumatic experience maybe, or you believe that the world is against you, the world is out to get you, life's a bitch, and we play this role, and it is addictive. People get addicted to their own negative beliefs and their own negativity. So when we are constantly negative, we can find ourselves stuck in this loop, this belief loop, and we are constantly triggered, reactive, and playing the victim role, because the ego wants to play victim. It wants to hold on to the identity of the victim instead of being the victor, instead of overcoming your problems and stepping out of your comfort zone. It wants you to play the victim and say that this is happening to me instead of this is happening actually for me. And when we are easily triggered, what is this an indication of? We have a wound that we are not fully addressing. And when we are playing victim, we are refusing to heal. We are refusing to see the problem. We are refusing to sit with the emotion in the body and allow it to be felt and processed. So then we are less likely to be triggered. We are not giving ourselves permission to feel it and be vulnerable, because the trigger is your medicine and it's the wound. So we got to take the medicine and overcome this victim mentality that keeps us trapped in a low vibration. And when we are refusing to see to our problems and take ownership and do the healing, doing the inner work, we are refusing to let go. We are refusing to let go of past experiences, and we are letting the ego take control, letting our triggers, letting our fears take the driver's seat instead of you being in that driver's seat. So what we have to do here is sit with our triggers, take that medicine, be with our emotions, being vulnerable, and finally healing those inner child wounds. So the third thing that actually keeps you trapped and stuck in a low vibration is toxic foods. So I'm not an expert on whole chemicals that are in foods. There are ridiculous amounts of chemicals that I can't even pronounce, that I'm sure nobody watching this can even pronounce, that we are consuming and putting in our bodies. And we all know what processed foods like. It's like the McDonald's, the KFC, all these foods that have gone through so much processing that it is not what the original form of the food was. And so all the chemicals and the processing, this creates a disease in our bodies. It creates dis-ease and it clogs up the body, and it stops you connecting with the divine, because that's what these chemicals are designed for by these corporations and elite, is to clog our systems up, so then we are disconnected from our heart centers and the divine, so then they are able to keep us in a low frequency vibration. Because when we're in a low frequency vibration, we're easier to manipulate, we're easy to control, because we are fearful, especially when they use fear and manipulation. Because if we were in a high vibration and we were all awake, what would that mean? It would mean we would be standing up against them, and more people are waking up these days. So you've got to cut out at least some of this processed food. And I'm not 100% there yet. I still eat processed foods. I will be honest with you. I'm not going to say I'm some guru health expert, because I'm not. And it's all about doing this in small steps, because just cutting it out completely is like taking away some kind of like drug that you are addicted to, because these processed foods and high refined and sugars and all of that is addictive. So we just need to take small steps and replacing that habit, going for those biscuits, because that's what I do, with a different habit, going for the piece of fruit instead of the junk food. And I know a lot of food is genetically modified now, so it's about trying to grow your own organic food, and organic food has a higher frequency. And this is not me saying vegans versus meat eaters, vegetarians. So the thing here is to raising your vibration is growing your own organic food. Even if you don't feel like you have a big enough garden, you live in the city, you can just get urban pots, urban planters you put in your windowsills and stuff like that, or out on a small balcony to grow some organic food. Start small. And it's not just the food, it's the water as well. Drinking fluoride water will keep you in a low vibration because it calcifies the pineal gland, and they don't want you to have an open pineal gland because it is your source to creation and it's your source to your power, and then they're not able to feed off your fear and all that anymore. Number 4 on my list is surrounding yourself with disempowering people, with negative people. We've all had that energy vampire that just drains the life force out of us, and we let them win every time, and we don't say anything, or we are just surrounding ourselves with people that are gossiping, bitching, and having nothing positive to say about the world, or constantly talking about the news and what's going to happen in the news, what's going to happen in the world, like the future, like, oh my god, the economy is going to collapse, we're going to be like fighting over resources, and enough with that. Let's come together, surround ourselves with empowering people that naturally have a high vibe, because that's what I did when I first woke up. I cut people out of my life that were disempowering me, not supportive, and I actually reached out into a community Facebook group of my local spirituality community, and I just made a post and said I'm looking for some more high vibe friends, and loads of people added me on Facebook, and I've made a few friends now that we meet up regularly, and I've cut out all the negative people in my life, including family. I refuse to see certain members because they just drain my life force energy. Number 5 on things that will keep you trapped in a negative frequency or vibration is addictions. Addiction to porn, addiction to social media. I think the social media one is such a big one for this modern society. We just want the dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit, and we don't realize that's what the chemical is doing in our brain, what our brains are doing. We just think, oh yeah, this is fun, scrolling through our phones. It actually releases the dopamine in our brains, are just the same as any other kind of addiction. And we can get addicted to news, we can get addicted to negative energy, we can get addicted to our own negative mindset. So when we are addicted, we are giving something else our life force energy, especially if it's pornography. We are giving it literally all our life force energy rather than using that for manifestation, using it to convene with the divine. And it keeps us stuck in a low vibration. And the more we consume as well when we're addicted to our screens, to our phones, the more anxiety it creates, because we're addicted to that information overload. But then it creates anxiety and resistance in the body and keeps us just stuck in this spiral of anxiety and low vibration. So taking some steps here to reduce your screen time and working on your other addictions, whether that's drugs, even weed. People think, oh, weed is so like chilled and high vibe, but it will clog your mind and you won't feel clear and you won't get clarity from your guides, from the divine, from God. And you'll just feel sleepy and groggy all the time. I used to smoke a ton of weed when I was about 19. Yeah, that's a very long time ago now. Probably like, it was way over 10 years ago. But it used to just make me sleepy and like have no motivation to do anything. I hope this video has been really helpful. Next, check out this video next to see how you can finally escape the matrix. Much love.